Right now, we're going to talk to a man by the name of Eric Preven, who ran for mayor, right?
Eric Preven was on our show once before, at least once. We had I think it was about 11 candidates.
Right here at the Burbank studios.
They
People
were
running for mayor of L.A.
They're running against Garcetti, and we gave all of them airtime. And I thought one guy that jumped out of the crowd, because there are a few loons there, more than a few, was Eric Preven. And he's a writer. He's a member of the Studio City Neighborhood Council. And it's Eric Preven who found the report that City Hall buried from a pest control company that said the rats are from the homeless camps, and you must get rid of the homeless camps to get rid of the rats.
Cats USA Pest Control. The report was issued December 28th. Here it is, June.
Garcetti lied about it, and then the LA Times, through their reporter Dakota Smith, dutifully repeated the lies. This time, we had Eric Preven turn the report over to the LA Times and got them to publish it.
All right, let's get Eric on the air and talk about what motivated him to do all this and more. Eric, welcome.
Eric, how are you?
Greetings, guys. Nice to be back.
Yeah, great work.
Is this speakerphone?
Yeah, I'm on my speaker. Is that okay?
We'd rather you not. If you
Okay,
could,
let me turn it off.
if you could make a change to that, it would just improve the sound quality.
How's that? Better?
Yes.
Oh, much better. Yes.
Okay, there you go.
Very good. Now
All
we can
right.
hear you.
So tell us how you figured out that you could file through the California Records Act and get a hold of this report.
Right. Well, I happen to attend an occasional city council meeting, and at one, I heard some fishy talk about, kind of doublespeak by Herb Wesson about the issue that had broken. So I said, let's just get the facts. And I did a CPRA, and I learned how to do that covering the county.
And what is that? What is that?
California Public Records Act.
Yeah, so this is where you essentially ask the local agency to provide, I asked for the emails and documents and reports having to do with rats, fleas, and homeless encampments for a period of time during the period that I thought was worth asking, and a larger period. I asked for like 2 years. And initially they provided a bunch of stuff. I went through it. It told a sort of fascinating story, but there were some omissions. And so I got the magnifying glass out, and I said, hey, wait, where's page 2 and 3 that had, it turns out, 20, documented instances where there had been rats, feces, fleas, things that they had found that were of great concern. So I was like, oh, well, that's very convenient you left that out. Then as I went down into it further, that report that was ultimately published by the Times, or, I gave to the Times, was also left out. So I was like, when I came back for that, I was like, excuse me, this is not optional. These are the records. Put it on the table. And they insisted on delaying for 10 days. 10 days, even though they should have given it to me at the outset.
And the delay, how did they explain it?
Well, I could tell that the report, you don't hide a report if it's neutral and nobody cares. This was the report that turned out to be on the cover of California section. So it showed that, in fact, the pest control folks from Cats USA, funny name, were recommending some strong action to, clean up the place for starters. I mean, if people are going to the bathroom down at the mall near City Hall, it's not new, first of all. And second of all, how about a toilet? I mean, this is not the third world. I find it hard to believe that in, 2019 in Los Angeles, this kind of a situation exists.
So it sounds like the reason you got delayed is that they didn't want you to find this out because, the way we look at it, they are doing all they can to make sure nobody blames the homeless encampments for the rat problem. It seemed like they wanted to differentiate. They said it was Parker Center demolition. Herb Wesson just kept defraying. We don't want to demonize. Look, no matter what you feel about the homeless, if the encampments are bringing rat with medieval diseases, you got to do something. And the pest control company would know how to deal with this. And they simply said, you got to move the homeless encampments away from the City Hall buildings.
Yeah, that was their recommendation. And also there were apparently instances where people were going to the bathroom. And I can tell you as a guy who was a frequent attendee at City Hall, the other day there was a situation where they were cleaning up a soiled step right on the front of City Hall. The guy has a little face mask on. Not pleasant. But I think we know how to. I think we know how to provide a facility, because here's the thing. I think I've heard your show. Everybody seems to agree that as much as, people would like this problem to just disappear, that for all of the, parks and things to just be cleaned up, unfortunately, that's not a reality. So given, I think the experiment of depriving people of a place to go to the toilet, has not worked great. Because I've got first foot experience in that one, guys.
Well, the only problem with that, Eric, is when you start putting bathrooms in, you know what happens? People start having sex and doing drugs in there, and it becomes disgusting and an eyesore.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. That's a valid point. But there's a program called the Mobile Pit Stop, which comes with an attendant.
Yeah, they do that. San Francisco does this. Somebody drives around with the bathrooms and monitors them.
Well, what I want to know with all the media we have in the city, how come nobody else went to the California Records Act to get these reports publicized? You're the only
because
one
they
who
don't want to go downtown because it's like a war zone full of all sorts of disgusting things. No, I think that I chased them a little bit, guys. As you know, I sued them recently in the appellate court, and they found in my favor that the city hall is basically a festival of corruption, a pattern of abuse, they called it, of the Brown Act, which is the law that, prevents them from pinning things up on the board, and not really letting the public in on what's going on. And then we wind up, where we are with $460 million going into the Measure H program, and the results are just worse than what it was before. So it really raises questions.
Well, Eric, we appreciate what you did.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned at the beginning there were a couple of other pages missing that would list about 20 incidents of feces. What was that? Just complaints?
So it's something called the CMMS system, and that means CMMS, and it was a printout. I think that they left that out because it was glaring. At first, I thought they left it out because it seemed a little far-fetched, but when they finally provided it, I was like, geez, that's awful. So that's what that was. And,
these are lists of piles of feces?
I think it was more about mice and rats, but there was a few instances, and, it was poorly written, so it was kind of hard to tell. I'll send it to you, though. Okay. I'm happy to send it over. I'll send you all the records.
I'm just curious, every day they must get all kinds of complaints, and there must be paperwork from the complaints, and they're just ignoring it. That's what I'm looking for here is how much they do know, how long they've known, and they just lie to the public and lie to the media every single day. All right, Eric, thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, guys. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, you too. Eric Preven. And again, he's a writer and a member of the Studio City Neighborhood Council. And he is the one that made the public records request to get the pest control company's report that if you want to get rid of the rats in downtown around the City Hall buildings, you got to move the homeless encampments. More coming up.